Nice. Hello, everybody, and good morning, and welcome to our online investor insights. I'm Bonnie Halper. I write the weekly Startup One Stop newsletter. I'll put the link in the chat. And I work with founders on their pitch decks and their talking points when they're going to talk to investors and make introduction to strategic partners or investors where and when appropriate. And I want to thank Joseph Katz for hosting us. Joseph, tell us what you do.
Thanks, Bonnie. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here as always. I am a startup marketing guy. I help companies go from unknown to well-known using go-to-market strategies, customer acquisition, just scientifically implementing those tools and tactics. So you grow fast and without going off the rails too far. So good to be here.
And we're so happy that we finally have Correy Faciane as our guest investor from the Scope Fund. It took us a long time to get him on the calendar because he's so bloody busy, which is a good thing. So, Correy, do you want to introduce yourself, or do you want us to go around the room and have people introduce themselves so that you know who you're talking to?
Yeah, I kind of like that. I haven't done it that way, but that sounds more interesting to me.
Okay. Okay, Ian, take it away. Oh, I should...
Oh, okay. Morning, everybody. Ian Garmez. I'm based in Toronto, but I work for a marketing consulting firm in LA called Virtual Film School. And we're just gearing up for a slight change in our business model, but we're going to be getting back into the business of creating short, funny videos for marketing purposes for growing companies. And I'll put my contact info in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Oops. And there goes Eric.
Oh, good morning. Eric Becker. I'm the founder and CEO of Millimatch, and we have technology that measures behavior of employees and so forth. And so we address business problems from the people side.
You know, it's funny. I was on an investor call yesterday. I do it every week, and they're always, and one of the questions for the breakout room was, when you're getting traction, what's the big failure for startups? And you know what they said? Team misalignment. That, that was the number one.
Yeah, and it's not observable. So you need a tool like Millimatch, which measures behavior, conscious, unconscious, to figure out why things are misaligned or why people do certain things.
Right. So, Mark.
Hi, Mark Wiseman, Managing Director of Navidar. We're an Austin-based investment bank, work primarily with tech companies doing capital raises and sell-side M&A. And I'm based, although Austin would be nice to be in right now, I'm based in balmy Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, I'm in snowy Pennsylvania at the moment. Sam.
Yeah, hi. I'm in New York. I'm CEO of AI for video company called Axle AI. We've been growing organically the last 5-6 years, did a little equity crowdfunding, and are now in the midst of acquiring 2 and possibly 3 adjacent businesses in our space. So I'm all about roll-ups and kind of debt financing and figuring out how to navigate the M&A space right now.
Well, that must be fun. There's a fun project for the end of the year.
Yes.
Lon.
A little hectic, but fun.
Hey everybody, I'm Lon Taylor. I own and run a company called First Insights, which is a market research company. So we specialize in doing mostly qualitative research, so things like usability testing, focus groups, ethnographic research. We'll do a survey every once in a while. Most of our clients are big, giant Fortune 500 companies, but I love the startup space and currently mentoring about 6 different startups based in South Florida.
Oh, that's always a fun project. Terry.
Good morning, everybody. Terry Carlone. I'm co-founder and CEO of a company called Vidient, and we were founded with a simple but lofty mission, and that's to eliminate preventable chronic diseases by connecting people with health guidance tools personalized to their one-of-a-kind characteristics and lifestyles and genetics.
Oh, thank you. Tino,
Good morning. I'm sitting in a dark car. Sorry about that.
you're always in a car. Tino's
Yeah,
always on the road.
often in a car. So, my company, we developed software to eliminate long distance supply chain costs, which waste 40% of $100 billion cabinet industry. So think of it like DoorDash meets cloud kitchens for cabinet manufacturing. So custom cabinets at mainstream prices made locally using other people's idle assets.
John, oh, you're muted. So I guess I'll ask Scott if he wants to talk about the company.
Or we can both talk about it.
Okay.
I'm on a different computer, so I have to find the buttons.
Oh, sorry.
Good morning, everyone. I'm John Kaler, and Scott Purdy, who you see there, is my colleague and one of the founders of Cine. We are about ready to be fundraising for our business-to-business application will allow people to essentially crowdsource videos, events, activities, and the AI up in the cloud takes care of delivering finished videos.
I love that AI everywhere. So since I already called on you, Scott, you wanna? I know you're coworkers, but I know you have an acting career too.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm working with John. We are at a really great point right now. We just had could be close to our MVP, and then we have some people who have reached out to us in the past that we're going to try to set up meetings for some investments. The most excited we've probably been since we started several years ago. But I do also have a part-time acting career, which has been actually going very, very well. I've been extremely busy the last 6 months, and sometimes the background you may see me on TV and some little things here or there, but I'm really having a good time with it. I was in Florida last week visiting my son, and it was quite nice, and now it's freezing here. I was actually doing a short film thing last night outside. It was like freezing cold. So, and by the way, I'm outside Philadelphia in southern New Jersey, exit 3 of the Turnpike, if you're familiar with Jersey.
Yes, Yolanda, I know it's nice and warm there in Florida. Still waiting for my invitation. Matt Bishop.
Hi, everybody. I'm founder and CEO of Open City Labs, and we have a digital health platform powered by AI that connects healthcare systems, payers, governments, and social service providers to unify a person's record and generate a person-centered care plan that recommends all the services that will help them achieve their health goals, especially at the intersection of chronic health conditions and the social drivers of health. So we might recommend a medically tailored meals program for a diabetic, falls prevention program. There are 21 different domains of non-clinical factors that shape 60% of our health outcomes, all the things that lead to the creation and exacerbation of disease, and 6 of them are now being paid by insurance, and we're getting ready to be deployed to the fitness industry in social care providers in 12 states, 75 locations that deliver a diabetes prevention program and want to expand these services to these non-clinical social services and get paid by insurance for it. So that's Open City Labs.
Oh, congrats to you. Oh, 25 in Toronto. And Correy, take it away. Oh, Richard Kircher, I'm sorry. One more.
Hey everybody, I'm Richard Kurtzer. My day job, I'm a senior account manager at NVIDIA on our financial services team. Been there since 2019. Just starting to dip my toes outside of that on the side into angel investment.
Oh, are you just starting out in angel investment?
Yeah, I'm very not new to AI and technology, but I'm new to the investment world.
Oh, okay. So maybe Correy has some pointers for you. You might. So Correy, take it away.
I signed up for a reason.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Alex, we didn't want to skip you either. I know you had just.
Oh, did I miss one person?
I think Alex is the last one.
Oh, hello.
Oh, Alex, I'm so sorry. You were late. I didn't see you sneak in.
That's okay. Better late than never. I was trying to sneak in quietly and sit in the back of class, but hey, So I'm Alex. Background in investment banking and private equity, but a first-time founder in a AI agentic SaaS B2B tech company that is looking to get basically AI agentic enterprise software to my old stomping ground, which is specialty lending, specifically like factoring companies, asset-based lenders, basically non-bank lenders, and make them a lot more effective and capable of deploying a lot more capital a lot more efficiently.
Incredible.
And funny enough, we're doing a initial capital raise, late seed, after bootstrapping for about a year. Um, Ideally next quarter, but definitely look forward to hearing what Corey has to say, Professor.
So take it away, Corey. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bonnie, for having me. It's great to see all you guys here about all the incredible stuff you all are doing. But yeah, my name's Correy Faciane. I'm actually in the DC area. I have a really non-linear path to end up in venture, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's definitely the reason why, um, I would say that we see companies a little differently, and I've gotten a chance to be a part of some of the greatest companies in this day and age so far, and all that type of stuff. Just because like the lens that I have and the rest of my team has is definitely more of an outlier lens than the rest of venture. And so, with that being said, I think that the most interesting part of my story really happened. I dropped out of medical school a few years ago. And so my background definitely is in healthcare. And while I was actually in med school and I was miserable, trying to find any other path outside of the one that I'd worked my entire life to get to, um, I found myself building. And I'm somebody who anyone that I know on this call and have had conversations with already kind of know me as somebody who just my heart beats really in the community. I'm very impact focused no matter what endeavor I take on. It's always got to be something that the community is benefiting from. And so, with that mindset, I started building while I was in medical school. My background lends me more to care about the community just because of my upbringing and my the trials and tribulations that life threw at me. It just made me lean on the community more. And I always had this thesis that I was surrounded by, like, how do I get people who don't have a similar background to me to care just as much as I do? Everybody has their, God-given talents. And I was like, how do I get them to really care about the community? Um, and so I was surrounded by all these smart kids as a, M2 and med school. I was like just asking them all these questions, and it was very simple. They were like, if you planned everything for me, I guess I'll show up and volunteer at a, whatever it is that I care about. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I pretty much started this volunteer concierge system while I was in school, and I was just matching people to things that they cared about in the community. I went to University of Maryland in Baltimore. And so I don't know if you guys are familiar with Baltimore, but it's not the friendliest place. And so basically that's exactly what I did. I wanted to just continue having an impact in the community, and it started growing way faster than what I had thought while I was in school. And so everything was manual. I know that AI was a thing. This is in 2020 though, so AI was definitely a thing, but it just wasn't that I didn't have access to any of the tools to build it. So I was doing all this manual, had no business, model or any of that type of stuff, was just having fun, but it started taking off. Like I had about 10,000 or so matches in the first couple of months. And it was like, I was like having a lot of fun, but I was definitely drained. But I started getting cold outreach from these folks called venture capitalists. And, I started looking into the industry. And I was like, cool, I'll start taking these meetings. And as I started taking the meetings, I just was not getting along with any of the traditional VCs. It was like, to me, the vibe just wasn't there. And I think mainly because, like I said, I'm impact focused and they're not always. And so we just had misalignment there. And so I had this bad taste in my mouth about venture. I was, pursuing my degree still. And then these groups called family offices started reaching out, which were the LPs and some of the major funds that were reaching out to me. And as I was declining the funding, they started reaching out directly, and I took a couple meetings there, and I was like, oh wow, this is totally different. These are like people that I genuinely like, and that's what I've always based every decision I made off of, people that I could actually like hang out with outside of business stuff. And I kind of was getting that feeling through the family office space. And so to shorten up the story, um, as I was getting closer in relationship with one prominent family, basically they advised me to like, look, this, you're clearly impact focused. This isn't a real business. They were the first person that told me that too. That's why I appreciate them. It's not a real business. However, I know that your heart is here. Let's work on turning this into a foundation. And then you can come work for me. That's basically what it was. If you really want to get out of medical school, you really want to keep your impact thing going. Um, you can come work for me. I had a couple things I had to do in order to learn, and I'll go into that in details if you guys have some questions about it. But essentially, they helped me start my nonprofit, which I still currently run today, called Hearts of Empowerment, which does a lot of youth education programs throughout DC. And then I took the job with the family office. Started out at the bottom of the barrels and was just the coffee guy in the family. That was, just hanging around the rim, just trying to learn as much as I could. Um, they have a very, very close relationship with Wharton. And so part of the deal was like I would do everything I can to learn as much as I can about business, investing and like all that good stuff. And when they felt like I was ready, they would finally allow me to be a part of some of the deals. And so kind of worked my way up into the point where they were allowing me to kind of do my thing within the family. I was technically labeled as a CIO after a year and a half working there. Met a ton of families throughout that space. But when I had started, I told them when we all feel comfortable, I would like to break out and I would like to start my own thing. And so they granted me that. And basically, what happened was about 2.5 years ago, going on 3 years, I broke out from the family and started a syndicate full of a ton of the family offices that I've been working with in the space. And it's called Scope Venture Partners, which is what I currently run. And yeah, it's been an insane journey, but I'll say that I started out with 3 families that trusted me to be like their early stage guy. And we're now sitting at about 85 or so families now that we're not the only, early stage folks that these people depend on, but it's a great spot to be in just because a lot of the families we work with are in wealth preservation mode. And we get to kind of serve as that home run hitting early stage, come to us, when you're ready to lose some money type of mentality. And it allows us to not have as much pressure and get into some really cool deals. And so all of it was performance based. Everyone saw that I'd made, some good investments for the family that was returning a ton of money to them. And, their friends wanted to join me on this next journey. And so here we are today.
Oddly enough, Corey and I met at a family office event. Shocker, right?
We did.
Yes. So, any questions?
Well, I would just say congratulations on getting out of the medical gig.
Yes, I know.
It took me a few more years than you. I actually got my degree and then figured out that it wasn't for me. But yeah, I mean, the medical industry is an interesting and weird place to be. So you're probably in a much better spot now.
Well, the crazy part about it was, I didn't really know where life would take me at that time. I just knew like I had to get out, just because, I know myself better than anybody else. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
I saw the writing on the wall for me personally.
Yeah.
So, it was an expensive mistake, right? Because a couple years of
Couple
loans
years of
cleared, right? But it's one of those I don't regret. And I can finally tell people I'm having the most fun I've ever had in my life. So I know that it's all working out.
Very cool.
Corey, one of the most successful deals I ever worked on was with a gentleman who was in med school, dropped out because he loved automobiles, and he started an auto repair shop. And when he couldn't find any software that actually worked for auto repair shops, there's a lot of old legacy products in there. He started his own, and they're probably now the number one or number two shop management systems. It's a SaaS platform. Raised capital from, we did their Series A. I mean, and they've done incredibly well. So there's not a lot of you guys out there like that, but a lot of happier medical school dropouts because of that.
I love it. Yeah, no, it teaches you something, obviously healthcare and all that type of stuff, making investments in there is always great, but it also teaches you in terms of just like the grit that it takes to make it to a level that you have to be in med school can be applicable across all different sectors, all different spaces, all that type of stuff, because it takes a lot to get there and it takes a lot out of you. And so I'm not surprised that he switched and that on switch is always on. So I know that, when I meet those type of people too, I'm really excited to back them however we can.
Now, I don't know if this counts, but Monday I'll be playing a doctor in a small film in Philadelphia. And they'll be paying me instead of me paying them. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Winner.
I love that ad on TV where one of the characters from a hospital TV show starts giving medical advice, and the kid says, "You're not a doctor." He says, "Yeah, but I played one on TV, so
yeah." Well, I'm looking forward to using that line after Monday. I'm not a doctor, but I played one in a movie, so.
Well, guys, I hate to tell you, but my sister decided to go to law school before she decided that she hated it and went to medical school instead. And she said that after law school, medical school was really easy.
That could be.
She must be a genius.
Oh, she's crazy. Yeah, she's sort of a type A personality. You can say that. So
and
we have,
I see some hands here.
Yes.
Who wants to go?
I was gonna say, Corey, so what does Scope focus on now? What's the sweet spot in terms of,
Alec, you didn't raise your hand. Ian just had his hand.
Oh, my bad. All right.
Well, I'll just go
I can
quickly.
wait till later. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, Corey, congratulations on what you've accomplished.
Jesus.
I was very interested in what you said about your learning process, about learning about the investment business, I guess, at fairly high speed. I'm kind of find myself in a similar situation now that I feel like I need to upgrade my knowledge, and I'd be very interested in your suggestions or experiences in that.
Yeah, great question. So I would say it depends on what you're looking for out. If you want to, I think from an outside perspective, look sophisticated, the route that way is the MBA at one of these high schools. That's the best thing if you're, that's what everyone looks for from the top. Like I alluded to early, typically operate different than the rest of the VC space, where I don't believe you need an MBA or any of that type of stuff.
Right.
But nevertheless, I wouldn't be doing my justice if I didn't throw that out there and say that's probably the best from an outside perspective. However, I think from an actual learning, I believe this through and through that venture and investing is an apprentice business. And so when I say that, I mean, the more you get out there, the more you learn. And unfortunately, sometimes that might come with some losses of some capital, but the long game, you're always going to win there. And so no matter how much reading you do, no matter how many certificates you get, programs you go through, regardless, you've got to put yourself out there and you've got to write that check and you've got to ask those questions and all that type of stuff. And through that, you will improve your process. But I would say there's also apprenticeships that have popped up here throughout the space more recently. And a lot of them put you in a cohort. I would also see if you had any relationships with like any scout programs, those are also really, really helpful and really good. A lot of the major funds have some scout programs in which if you have relationships, I'm not sure if it's a quote application or not. Maybe there is that, some of them there too. But I would say all that to say, if you can find an apprenticeship, definitely try to figure out how to get into one of those. That would be awesome. There's a couple books that I can also send you if you're a big reader.
Oh yeah, no, I am a big reader. So,
yeah, I'll send you a couple.
I mean, I've read Venture Deals, for whatever that's worth.
I love it. Yeah, I'll definitely send you some books and things like that have helped me just refine my process a little bit.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is just put yourself out there, man. Write that write that check to a founder and allow them to teach you about investing as they're building their company is probably my number one thing that I would tell you from an advice standpoint to learn.
But the
Great.
thing,
Well, that's great. Very helpful. Thank you.
and
And
the
I'd
thing,
love to see the books.
and the thing is to find the right founder, of course.
Yes, definitely. The right
Yeah.
founder.
Or
So
the
Eric,
wrong founder, but invest as little as possible.
that's true.
And then you can always learn by failing
Love it.
fast.
I love it. Fail fast.
Eric,
Yes, Corey, you and I have had a lot of conversations, but I've never asked you this. You have two ends of the spectrum, the Hearts of Empowerment and the Scope Fund. How do you balance between the two? And because those are two very different ends of the spectrum there, venture capital and then what you're doing with Hearts of Empowerment. Do you have to shift into different modes when you put on whichever hat?
Yeah, that's an incredible question. I definitely used to. And I used to be intentional about switching that because the mindset um was like you said, I mean, it had to be totally different, right? And then I started finding out that that was not sustainable, and I wanted to figure out where the common ground led. And basically, the common ground is assistance of some sort, right? One call might be with a family office that has questions about a deal and needs help screening an early stage company. The next one might be with a mother who's figuring out how to feed her family with the groceries. And regardless of it, they're coming to me for some type of assistance and some type of help. And when I was able to kind of find that common ground, is like, that is my purpose, is to provide assistance and help however I can. Then it kind of allowed me to then not pay too much, like in terms of fine details about what the actual ask was, but just label it to myself like, okay, when I wake up this morning, who am I going to help? And look at my calendar and say, okay, this person's, this 30-minute gap, this person's the next 30-minute gap. And that has really helped me, like, from a mental standpoint, just be able to balance them. And then also one of the things is that my reasoning for doing both are completely different. My reasoning for wanting to be in the community, Eric, you and I have talked about that. It's just because that's what shaped me. My reasoning for wanting to be in venture is to really shape what the next iteration of technology or the world may look like. And so if I get my wish and the world becomes what I would like, then I think that I've done my job, and both of those lend to a great world in my book. And so that's kind of what keeps me grounded.
Thank you, Corey, for that.
Of course.
all right, Alec, it's your turn.
Good things come to those that wait. Yeah, no, so it's just in terms of scope, what's your sweet spot in terms of, either sectors or life cycle, check size? Do you like to lead, not lead, etc.?
Yeah, great question. So we are focused on pre-seed to Series A deals. And everything is SPV, so it's still a syndicate, although it is family offices and all that type of stuff. We look at all different sectors, and so we don't specialize in any type of sector. How our internal process works is we've kind of created this community where everything, there's subsectors of families that have specialized in particular things. And those are considered our investment committee when it's a deal that potentially I might not have as much expertise in a space, but I think is pretty interesting. All of our investments are initially, since we're so early, are initially qualitative anyways, where, waterfall analysis and all that type of stuff is just fun numbers to crunch, but don't really mean anything. We've been first checking a ton of companies. And so, and those have actually come out to be like our best because like the qualitative approach to it. But our check size, depending on stage, our early stage check size is anywhere between like 125 to 250K. Later stage is anywhere between 1 to 5 million.
Okay. Sounds good. And it's all US kind of.
All US. We've looked at a couple of UK deals. We have not done any over there yet. It's all been US things, but we're not, set in our ways of just doing US investments. We'll screen anything. And just to give you guys some context, We see about 5,000 deals or so a year, so we see a ton of stuff from all over. And to date, we've made 18 investments.
This year or since the fund started 2.5 years ago?
No, we made 18 investments since the fund started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So pretty hard to to get deals through, but nevertheless, it's we're great with relationships and we keep those even if we're not the best fit, someone in our network typically might be. And so we've been able to be very, very helpful, even to deals that weren't necessarily our fit.
Yeah, I know you make introductions as well, and thank you for that.
Of course, of course.
So, Matthew, you still have your question? You put your
Yeah,
hand
I
up.
do.
Okay.
Thanks, Corey. Very exciting and impressive journey you've been on.
We don't know the half of it.
Um, so my question is, what is the number one, what's the number one thing you're looking for in a company you're investing in? And if it's the team, what is the number one? What are the qualities in the team? And then specifically, are you seeing what are you seeing in terms of like the opportunities in healthcare and AI, kind of broadly speaking, and where that's going as a sector?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start out with the latter and then work my way back. What I'm seeing in the healthcare space that I'm really interested in, once again, this is just one thesis, from one person, but I am very, very interested in voice technology in healthcare. I think there's a lot of I mean, let's go a layer even deeper. I think breath has a lot of data that has not been collected when it comes to overall human health. And let's call it holistic health. I think breath has not been captured as a data mining method. And I also think if you take it a layer up, voice AI is going to be very interesting in the healthcare space. In particular, we wrote a check into a company called Vital Audio, and so they have a technology in which you can actually get real-time accurate blood pressure reading through phone calls. And so we're really excited to see how much they can expand on that when it comes to vital sign readings through just voice. And their technology is really interesting. They're actually killing it. We were one of the first checks in there. They just signed a really big deal with Mayo Clinic that they haven't announced yet. And so we're really excited for the future of that. And so the next step is like, what do we look for in teams? You said if it is the founder, what is it? Those qualities look like. Obviously, I think the check the box answer is definitely the founders. However, I look at things a little differently. It's yes, founder is very important, the number one important thing, but everyone's going to tell you that. So I want to give you guys a little bit more. I think that the biggest thing that really is interesting to us is actually just the ideology of what is being built. And so I say that because, and this is why the Scope Venture Partner system has worked so well for me, particularly, and for the rest of my team, is because we don't really have, once again, like majority of the folks that invest with us. So we invest with some of the prominent athletes, families, all that type of stuff. Majority of them already have their safe measures of making distributions that are, certain percentages, all the boring stuff to me. They already have that taken care of. So it allows me to just widen my horizon of like who's building the craziest stuff that the world ever has to offer. And that's kind of like the first thing that we look for because I have that I would say wide range of the ability to screen things. And like I'll give you guys an example, like Pipe Dreams. If you guys look at them, that's a deal that we are really we actually ended up doing that deal. But regardless, they're building like underground tunnels for logistics and grocery delivery and all that good stuff. And then like we did the Orbit Fab deal and Nautilus and like all these insane things because it was somebody that was trying to change the world. And that's not everybody's mission. And we look for that first, like even if somebody's sending me a deal, typically it's one of those where it's like, how crazy is this person, right? Like that's typically what we want to see is like, how insane is this person to go out here, put their life on the line for something everyone's telling them is never going to work. That's really what scope looks for. And if that's, let's say that there's somebody who's just an extremely strong founding team and doesn't want to, put, I don't know, gas stations in space. That's not to say we're not going to look at that deal, but I'm just saying that what's going to capture our attention is how insane of like what has everybody been saying no to because they just think it will never happen. And I don't think every venture person or any of them could have that mindset just because their fiduciary responsibility is a little different than mine. And so that's what I would say. But I'll also give you a little bit more about a founding team because I think that's kind of what you're going for too. Qualitative features in a founder that I think are really important. Number one, it's definitely a character thing for me. The biggest thing that I'm always figuring out is like no matter how many questions we ask, no matter what it is that's being asked, like how truthful is this person when it comes down to it? And it could be as small of a a fabrication as I don't know, not where they went to school or how long they've known their founder for, right? Like if those stories don't line up, let's say that you met them 6 years ago and I talked to the other guy and he tells me 8 years or like whatever it is, those are just small things that grow into bigger problems in the future. And so what we kind of look for is trends within a founder's character. It's like how are you with delivering bad news? How are you with delivering good news? Can I talk to your girlfriend? Can I talk to your wife? Can I talk to your husband? Any of that type of stuff, because I want to know how these people that have known them for way longer than we do value them, right? I want to look at the relationships they have outside of building a company. How do you treat to Eric's point too, how do you treat your employees? I'm excited for our meeting a little later if you can't tell. But how you treat the people that work for you, that, invest in you, all that good stuff. So those are all good from a reference standpoint. I want to know the character of the founder. And then obviously the gold mine is the founder market fit too. It's like, what have you done previously that allows you to feel confident in building what you're building now? And I have a ton of other things, but I'll stop there and see if there's any other questions on any of those pieces.
Ooh, do we get to sit in on your meeting with Eric later? No.
I'm out if you're going to speak with my wife because that's just slander. Okay, so then I'm going to have to hire Terry to sue her. Okay.
Back in the mid 90s when I started working at the college, I was running a welfare to work program. And I used to tell the students when I would talk to them that it wasn't always the message, but how you deliver the message. You can deliver bad news in the proper way and people, will accept it. So that was just kind of something that I always thought about. I always listened to how people tell me the news, whether it's good or bad. But how tactful are they? How empathetic are they in delivering the news? And it just, I think, kind of shows a little bit of their character.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. Just to give you guys a quick story too, like we were talking to a company, things were looking good. We loved it. Everything was great. And they were like bragging to me about their employee one and they got the best on the market. It's go to market person. They're super excited for them, all this type of stuff, telling me about their accolades. I was like, oh, great. Like, I would love to hop on a call with them. End up getting on a call with the employee one. And my first question is, how do you know founder X? And like, she like looked at me and like, she was like, what do you mean? Did he not tell you? I'm like, oh, what? Tell me what? Like, you're a great employee and everything? Like, he was bragging about you. She's like, no, we're engaged, getting ready to be married. And like, that's kind of weird that he didn't say anything. Yeah. And I'm like, what? So like, to me, it's not about the fact that you're getting engaged and all that type of stuff. It's the fact that you disguised it as this is this amazing rock star employee one, and you weren't upfront about anything. And I think it's probably because they've gotten denied from an investor that said, hey, this is way too close to heart or like whatever it is. And so I don't blame the founder for that. That's just not somebody we want to work with, because what else would you be hiding behind, this disguised, dressed up way of explaining stuff? Like, bro, just tell me. I just thought that was really weird. Like, just tell me straight up that like I'm getting engaged and like we brought her on the team. That's like way better than me.
Yeah.
Even she was like, why didn't, like, this is just weird. You know what I mean? So we passed on the deal and maybe he built something awesome or whatever, but it's like, we have the luxury of being able to work with people that we enjoy being around, and that's just not a quality of anybody that, is for me. And so,
What percentage of founders do you find do that, give you a half truth or not tell you the full story?
oh man, I would probably say when I first started, probably 90%. Then like now my intro is a little different. And like I used to blame myself for that because I do think I can't really blame the founder. A lot of them get their pitches and like all this type of stuff from so many outside noises. It's not really them. You're getting a collection of like years of pieces of things that they've brought to the table. And if you show up as an investor that they're typically used to pitching, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get the usual pitch, you're just a number. I kind of show up now a little different. And so because of that, we kind of let that wall down. And like, I really want to get to know the person that's across there and I humanize this entire space. And because of that, it allows me to like truly get down to like, okay, let's have a real conversation, you know, unbutton, let's just talk, because that's the best thing that I can learn from this 30-minute call that we have. And so when I started doing that a little bit, I would say that number lowered down to about 30%, but the liars are going to be the liars.
You probably can count the number of buzzwords you hear in a pitch and just know right off of that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
I have an investor friend who he had a family office friend of his in town and he wanted me to meet him. So I go over to meet them for lunch, and Alex, the family office guy, first thing he said, "I'm Alex. I'm a convicted felon." And it was true. He was
See, I mean, but he's honest though. You can tell he's going to be honest throughout the whole journey of the company.
Yeah, first words out of his mouth. He was selling, when he was a kid, he was selling drugs and he got busted. And his family decided to let him learn a lesson, so they let him go to prison.
Mm.
Oh well.
Tough love.
But he's a double trust fund kid, so you know what? He's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's better than saying, I've never been convicted of a felony.
Convicted? Never.
Yeah, I've never been convicted. It's funny when you talk about relationships, though. Like with us, with Sine, all of us go back at least 20 years on working at different organizations, but with the same goal in mind at colleges, helping colleges and students out with originally was what they used to call telecourses is where I started, and then it became online courses. But like Tom, who's part of our thing, we're going on 30 years. John and I probably between 20 and 25 years. So it's funny how it all came together when we're putting the company together and looking at what strengths everybody has and what we could bring to the table. So it's something we've known each other really long. We were much younger when we first knew each other. But it's funny too. You mentioned that 30% of the people that you deal with, 30% seems to be the magic number of from research that I've done, like in people who cheat. We used to face with online courses, especially at the beginning. People are going to cheat in online courses. They're going to cheat. It's all we heard about was going to cheat. And then one person at another school actually did their paper for their doctorate degree about cheating in that. And it turned out that the percentage is the same as in class. So I've kind of figured out that probably just 30% of people are going to cheat at everything, their marriages, their jobs, whatever they do, they're just going to cheat. Right. And I used to always wonder why we spent so much time putting resources towards trying to stop people from cheating and not putting those resources to the other 70% who are working hard. Like, why are we always throwing all this at this? Let's make the effort. If they fail, it's going to come back to bite them sometime if they're cheating. Well, let's help the people who really want to do it the right way and took off from there. So, but thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point too.
So Matt has a question.
Yeah, Corey, what's your process for founders that want to get an opportunity to pitch you?
Yeah. So, I mean, now obviously it's one of those where happy to give my email and all that type of stuff. But let's say that it wasn't one of those where I know the founder or any of that type of stuff. There's a place on our website that people can submit their pitch decks and like all that good stuff. We're not one of those firms that like don't look at everything. Everything is screened, not necessarily by me, but it's all looked at. And then typically our process looks, relatively different based on how it comes to us. But if it's a cold pitch, typically, there we have an analyst, an associate, and then another investor. Typically, they're all on the first call, or maybe that's split in between two calls. And then if they find it that it's pretty interesting and all that type of stuff, I'm always happy to jump in after that. And then let's say that it moves up again and there's something here, then we'll actually dive into our due diligence process. Our due diligence process, typically, we can move fast. I will say that too, but our due diligence process typically takes anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks after those initial calls. And then after that is when I call the investment committee. I bring in the families who typically are a part of that group. They slash the deal and tell me why they hate it. And if I can get it passed through, then it gets passed. If I can't rebuttal any of the stuff that they're saying, then it typically doesn't get passed. And if it does, then that's when we spin up the SPV, and then I start, raising capital for the deal after that. So we're looking at anywhere between from initial call to wire, it's typically about 6 weeks or so.
Are you still looking at DEX now? I know a lot of investors are saying wait until January. That's what they're telling me.
That's funny. We are still looking at stuff now. We actually just did a deal on this most recent YC batch called Sunflower, which is AI sobriety. I was really excited about that one. We're literally I'm signing the papers for that this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're still looking at stuff.
So, Joseph, you have a question.
I do. So let's get real. You had a lot of good successes. It's an amazing story. Other than medical school, what's been the hardest lesson you've learned, and what would you have done differently?
Hardest lesson I have learned actually has nothing to do with me, but witnessing the world revolves around single mothers.
I was hoping you'd tell this story.
Yeah, the world revolves around single mothers. That's definitely the biggest lesson that I've learned, just being raised by one from Jackson, Mississippi. And so my upbringing is definitely not the glimmers of hope that a lot of people get a chance to see now, but definitely more of a strugglesome and a gruesome, I would say, upbringing when it comes to that. But just having a resilient, superwoman as a single mother of two kids, that has taught me a lot. And so that's one of the biggest things for me was the lessons that she always instilled in me is no matter what situation that she was facing that day, and it was always something crazy, she would always leave the house. And so for me, I was so my story really comes from the fact that I was raised in Jackson, Mississippi up until my middle school years, in which my mom actually ended up getting remarried to who now is my stepdad, my best friend to this day, who was relatively higher up in Boeing. And he kind of reached back and saved, everything, my entire family. But he moved us up to Ashburn, Virginia, which is the richest county in the entire country. So I went from Jackson, Mississippi. It was like a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air story, right? Where it's you go from Mississippi to Ashburn, Virginia, and everything in between changed my life for the better. But regardless of that, going back to the lessons that I learned, no matter what we were battling, and I was reading on when I had transferred up to Ashburn, Virginia, I was going into seventh grade, reading on a fourth grade level. And no matter what I personally was going through, my mom always no matter what my mom was personally going through, my mom would always look back at us and say we were kind of her second chance at life, and she wasn't going to stop until we had a better opportunity. But, it falls on numb ears when you get told that every single day, right? And so we're like, okay, we got it, we got it. And then she would switch it up, and she would make us say three things. She would always make us say before she left the house, and she knew we weren't going to school that day, right? She knew we were doing our dirt. She would still come back and say, and remember, and we would always have to repeat, I'm designed for greatness, highly intelligent, and I can do anything, right? And I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? This little kid, I'm just saying that or whatever. But like honestly, she was a living example of that. And although her outside appearance and things like that didn't seem that way, she always believed that and she passed that message on to us. And so as everything worked out the way that it was supposed to, and those like battle wounds ended up being healed and made us who we are today, um, you know, I feel like we can do anything. Very, very close as a family, and I don't know if we would have been that close if it wasn't for those things. And so that's the lessons that have always stuck with me. And that's what I try to teach our families under Hearts of Empowerment too, that no matter your situation, like
You taking off, on?
what?
I'll close the thing. Are you okay going?
Oh, Terry, you have to.
Good luck. You got your papers?
It's Terry.
Oh, Terry, you have to meet. Oh, okay. Thank you, Joseph.
Alex, looks like you have a question as well.
Yeah, it was more and I appreciate the backstory, and it kind of goes alongside that, but
It
also
wasn't.
your DD process.
It wasn't the whole
So
backstory, though.
yeah, I mean, I guess my question is really, having sat down with all these founders and talked to the wives and the girlfriends, hopefully not both, but
Sometimes.
and the other 1,000 points on your checklist, the DD checklist. What have you found is, the predictor of success for founders? Like, what are some of the 3 or 4 factors? And they can be personal stories like yours, or quantitative. What are the sort of success drivers?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So to me, the things that have in our most successful investments that we've made, the founder has been somewhat mission oriented and not looking at it as a job. It's like, this is my life mission. It's not necessarily a job for me. And we see that in particular when I match it up to the healthcare companies that we've invested in. It's typically a founder story in which they face some type of traumatic experience in the healthcare space and they're out to solve that. And the reason why I say that is because when it becomes your life mission, you will not stop until it's accomplished and you don't care how it gets done. And that's the type of mentality that is needed, to build for the next 10 years, right? And so a lot of times it'll be a grandmother or a mother or a sister or somebody that's close to them that was affected negatively by a certain situation. And instead of using it as some type of excuse to give up on stuff, they use it as, adrenaline and fuel to build something special. And those are the type of people from a qualitative standpoint that like for us have just been great. Been building, incredible companies to this day, especially in the healthcare space. Other key points that I've seen, a lot of folks that aren't, this is kind of a weird way to put things together, but what I have actually noticed is that anyone that takes the financial obligation of themselves, their teams, investors, like it's at the forefront of their minds, so much so that whether it be a fractional CFO or a full-time CFO, or they have a financial background or whatever it is, regardless of what they're building in, that has also been very helpful because it like prevents all of the like extra spending on particular things when you don't need to be spending on stuff. And I found that when founders are in build mode and it's just two friends that are building something with zero financial knowledge or very limited financial knowledge, then you start like frivolously spending on ridiculous things that don't make sense for the long run. And so somebody that has that discipline or has shown that financial discipline throughout journeys, like that's something that I've seen be very, very helpful. And I know that they're expensive to have CFOs and all that type of stuff. So a lot of times, like if a founder comes from a financial background, it's really helpful. Just because you can't depend on them to really go hire some of the best folks to handle that for the trying to think if there's any other things that we've seen that have truly stood out amongst stuff. And then also just really smart people in general, I would say like are always helpful to have, like just general smart. I know you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. Like we all have those people, everyone on this call too. Bonnie, everyone that I've spoken to, just generally like you just have a lot of information about a bunch of different topics and all that type of stuff. regardless if it's something you're interested in or not. But it just shows that you can retain information very quickly, and you can also articulate that. It's even better if you can like articulate complicated things to folks that you know won't understand it, but give it in plain language. That's a very good founder skill set. Because if we can't understand what you're building, it's going to be very hard to get that across. And so a lot of times, like, you're better off being as simple as possible, even though you may, want to come there and be as complex because you want to get, you want everyone to know how smart you are. It's actually opposite. It's actually really intelligent of you to be able to simplify as much as you can. Just assume everybody you're talking to has zero clue or background on anything you're building. And if you can explain it to a fifth grader, you're typically like, we see that as like, wow, this person's actually really, really smart.
Yeah. I help founders with their pitch decks, and that is the biggest problem. They don't know how to explain what they're doing in simple terms.
In simple terms, very, very simple. Like, it can never be too simple.
Yeah.
Never can be too simple.
People love the jargon. They love telling you all the things they know.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that just goes way over. I mean, you got to think about, you're probably founder number 10 of the day. There's like a bunch of different stuff that's already going on. It's like, you know what I mean? Way, me in particular, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but Terry, did you have something?
Yeah, I did. Sorry, I can't find the hand raise on my thing. Maybe I didn't sign into Zoom. Correy, we're not looking for money, but you have some interesting contacts. We're working with a group, and we're starting to work with a group in Cook County. We're looking for underserved community areas where community workers can help us provide free health guidance to people in those communities who otherwise couldn't afford a doctor or copay or anything. How do we get? I would love to have a conversation with you, maybe just for referrals of people who work in various underserved communities that we could talk to do that on the nonprofit side of what we're doing. So,
Of course.
how would I go about doing that? Just have a short call with you. And maybe you could refer us to other people in your community who could help us expand that.
Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put my email in the chat.
Okay.
And so, yeah, feel free to shoot me an email and all that type of stuff. Happy to hop on calls and all that good stuff.
Fascinating call, by the way. And Bonnie, this is one of the best.
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Programs you put on, I think.
Yeah.
So Corey, are you gonna tell the group how your mom met your stepdad?
We'll save that for another.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Okay.
It is crazy.
Crazy story. Fantastic story. Loved it.
Yeah, Corey, the same as Terry. I have a friend who started several nonprofits in Philly helping the community and clean up. I messaged you his LinkedIn. I somehow think you'd be a good connection, maybe not even for financial reasons, but the similar mindset that you have. Would it be better for me just to send that in an email to you?
Yeah, it's perfect. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
So since you have so much on your plate, are you still gonna start a bona fide VC fund rather than doing SPVs come the new year, or is that going to be shelved for now?
That's a great question. That is a magical question. I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun the way that we do stuff now, but I'm getting a ton of pressure to potentially do that. And so I haven't made the decision yet if it's something that we're gonna do. But I just know that, like, it's just funny. The reason why the pressure is there, well, number one, like, the performance is definitely showing, but regardless of that, it's like I'm talking to these families and like all these people that we work with way more than what I promised them I would be at the beginning. So it's more along the lines of like, hey, can I just give you X, Y, and Z and like just not talk to you every day about particular things and you kind of go about your merry way. And I'm like, because I told them that it would be once a quarter, I kind of sold them on this thing where it's like, yeah, we're not going to be as active. We're going to kind of be, because I'm running Hearts of Empowerment and all that type of stuff. And then we're getting all these insane opportunities that I'm like always talking to them about particular things. Like, dude, just turn this into a fund already.
Right. Well, then you'll have LP to answer to, and they're not the same as family offices. The money's not as patient, generally.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And that's what I said. Like we're just in a good flow right now, and it's been really, really fun. And the moment that I stop having fun with it, I'll be done with it.
Back to medical school.
Oh no, not that one. Anything but that. Too traumatized.
So what kind of medicine were you planning on practicing? Had you decided?
I was getting ready, so I had just began rotations in plastics, but I was doing trauma plastics. And so, when people are unrecognizable after specific, instances, how can we be there to assist them of that? And so like that's where the idea sparked where it's like, okay, cool. Like medical school is really, really hard to get into and all that type of stuff. Plastics is even harder. And so it was one of those where I guess slipped through the cracks somehow and ended up there. And I was like, I gotta utilize this opportunity. I'm around all these brainiacs. How do we do it? And so that's where the volunteer matching thing started. I was like, you guys are some of the smartest people in the world, honestly. Like,
You probably didn't slip through the cracks. You probably were just being yourself, and they noticed that.
Yeah.
They said, "This is the guy we want in the program."
yeah, maybe. I just know that they were, you know, the folks that I was surrounded by. I was like, wow, how did I end up here? Like I said, I was just reading 3 grade levels behind.
Did you find, Corey, that people in specializing in plastics were artists in their own right? Had
Yeah, honestly, I don't think people talk about that enough. That is it. Yeah, that's exactly what I was noticing too. Like they're very creative with particular things, especially because like obviously you have to be designing things like it has to, and so that type of stuff and other facets of life typically come forth in a creative artsy, way. They're just like really technical as well.
So Ian has a question.
Yeah, so Corey, you've outlined some of the pressures that you're under right now in your current role. What do you see as your biggest current challenge?
Yeah, great question. The current challenge is which kind of would point to starting a fund, but the biggest challenge is when, how do I put it? So a lot of other folks that are call them LPs or members are used to, if they can't see or they're not the ones talking to deals or any of that type of stuff, they're typically one of the ones that still have that sheep mentality where it's like, oh, who's the big investors on here? Who's leading the round, doing all that type of stuff. And when you can't really explain the qualitative factors and features that you see in a particular person, it's hard to bring that deal to market because they're looking at, well, why isn't Andreessen or Sequoia or whatever
Right.
on this deal? And or why did they pass? Like that's the word. That's the biggest headache. Oh, I see, and I spoke to my buddies at whatever, and they actually passed on this deal. Like, why do you like it? And it's like the way that they operate and how they do things at the fund level and the strategic stuff that they do have nothing to do with the way that we want to run things. I have
Right.
no interest in doing that, and so it's like just trust me. I've done this before. I see this. I know this, but it's tougher to get something passed through when other folks don't see it that way. So it's almost like you have to dress it up in the things that go against what I necessarily believe as an investor
Right.
in
Right.
order for other folks to feel really comfortable moving at the pace. Like if I had like in ridiculous amount of time to close an SPV, then I can have all those meetings with them and eventually we would get that closed. But if founders are moving really quick on a deal and there's no big name investor on there, it just takes me so many meetings to get these folks to be like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the round would be closed by then. But if there's one of those bigger investors on it, I can get a deal closed in 12 hours. It's
Right.
crazy. It's crazy
Yeah.
fast.
I don't know if you've been on the Angel Span call, with Joe Milam, which Bonnie and I are
Yeah,
usually on,
I
because
heard
like
you talking
he
about
deals with these issues quite a bit
that.
on his call.
It's a huge issue where it's like trust me, people don't see it that way. And when they see it, it's too late. and they, that's the point. Like those bit, and we have tons of relationships with all those. I talk to them all the time. If anything, 60% of our portfolio has got investments from those major funds at a
Yeah,
later stage. And the reason why they passed on particular things or whatever is because they have no interest in actually getting to know a founder from like a grassroots level and all that type of stuff,
really,
like a machine,
really.
right?
Right. You don't
Whereas
have
ours is different. It's like we can actually do that, and then I can bring in those funds later, and cool. Now everyone's happy, but like, let's get the better terms. Trust me, I know this. And before it's too late, like that's the biggest challenge right now, where it's like, you know, not everyone sees it that way.
That's fascinating. I mean, what about this Ivy League prejudice issue? A lot of people believe that Ivy League founders have a far greater chance of being able to raise capital than others.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I have a very good ear to the space, and you're exactly right. But my pushback to them is like great founders can build anything anywhere
Yeah.
and make it work. And it's more about like, you know, what is your upbringing like? And honestly, typically, I don't know if I forgot who asked this earlier, but what we've also seen is like a lot of good founders have some type of like traumatized or brokenness at home as a upbringing, and it gave them the resilience to be able to do anything they put their mind to. Once again, Design for Greatness, highly intelligent, and can do anything. None of that has anything to do with Ivy League stuff, and like you don't need that validation. For us in particular, you don't need anyone else's validation to build stuff that you want to build. And like we want those people. And I'm telling you, what happens every single time without a doubt is like when it's too late, that's when all of the rest of the industry wants to hop on board.
yeah.
And it's just crazy how it works. But we'll probably have to spend some more time talking about that at another day.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've submitted decks to investors who I know well, and you can't imagine how many times they've said, "Oh, the founders are not Ivy League." They'll only talk to me because I'm Ivy League too. It's a real snobbery.
Well, it's
Signaling.
the old everybody wants to be first to be second. So
That's exactly right. Nobody wants to take that risk and take that chance. And I do think, all of it is it probably is some LP pressure and like all that type of stuff too. And so I always try to, regardless if it's another investor, founder, friend, family, whatever, I always try to see people's point of view and never, I don't fault any of the investors for the way they do things. I just know I have an opportunity to think and move differently. And so I want to utilize that strength as an asset to the space and kind of do our own thing.
I have to run. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Joseph and Corey. This was absolutely fantastic. This was the most honest and real presentation I've ever seen. So, but I came into this biased. So,
Thank you so much, man. It means a lot. Talk to
okay,
you later.
okay,
See ya.
take care.
And
Thank you.
I will introduce you to Joe Mylan because I think you'd find it interesting. Joe's point of view on investors and how the FOMO and their lack of experience. I mean, these people have successful exits and all of a sudden they're investors. Well, where's the apprenticeship program?
It's the false
Yeah.
signal spawning, right? The false signal being the Ivy League degree or the previous exit, which I was always talking about the data.
And you'll be surprised too with that. Not even surprised. I'm sure you guys all know too. It's like a lot of that really is a cover up so you don't ask the real questions, right? Like a lot of it is like a lot of times when you see things like that, it's like, oh, what do you mean am I smart? Like you see where I went to school, or like, what do you mean am I like, don't really ask me about that stuff because like, what do you mean? Like, can you not see, this type of stuff? And like they get really defensive when you start asking real questions about things because like either they may not know it or they're not used to it or whatever. Because a lot of people stop when they see, any of those Ivy Leagues and oh, let's make an assumption from here. It's like, no, let's really still get to you're just like everybody else. Let's get a chance to really get to know you and do all that type of stuff. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of those type of founders shaking their boots when when it comes down to like really having those real combos because they're not used. It's not a muscle that they're used to working. They're used to just being like, okay, on to the next, like next question. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to dive any deeper under the hood. Like we see your accolades.
So anybody else have a question or comment?
If I could, Bonnie, I can't
Yeah.
find, like I said, I'm on a different computer. I can't find raising my hand. Sorry.
Oh,
Corey, I'm just fascinated by all of this as a fairly big part, but not the only part of my life. I mean, I'm a video producer at heart, so I've been working in academia, at a big academic medical center. And the one thing that fascinated me was I was in the radiology department, amazingly doing video. And there were so many of the radiologists who were entrepreneurs. And I hear you talking the way they talked. So I see where you moved into this. And it's just a great story. I really enjoyed this session.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. Yeah, radiologists are awesome. I think all physicians are awesome. People still come to me and ask for advice about applying to school and getting in and all that type of stuff. And what's actually insane is that when I met with the board and of UMD and was getting ready to I was telling them I wasn't coming back and all that type of stuff because I had a good relationship with them. None of them knew what I was going to end up doing or any of that type of stuff. But I was like, look, I left on a really good note. So much so that my first angel SPV came from a couple members on the board at UMD a couple years later. Like as soon as when I hit them up and had that good relationship with everything, I didn't leave on a bad term. They actually ended up supporting me and helping me get my first SPV over the line. So that was like, man, that meant a lot. And once again, it was further validation for me. Like, it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't for me, and this is just the path that was chosen, and that I'm having a lot of fun with. And to get their support and not, any grudges from it was like further validation.
Yeah, well, it's great working around smart people. I'm enjoying this stuff too because there are lots of smart people, and that's just so encouraging.
For sure.
Yeah.
More
Thanks for
common
this. It's really
sense.
been good.
I'm actually curious. It's not a question with an answer, I don't think, but maybe how many medical school students drop out as a percent? I mean, because it's not easy, like to your point, if you're in medical school, you've been on that path purposefully for a while.
I would say,
And I say this as the father of someone who's looking to go to med school, they're in high school now, but also have a nephew at John Hopkins right around the corner from you who's kind of intent on that path too.
Yeah, you'd
But
be
it's a
surprised.
not zero number,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously.
you'll be surprised. It's definitely not as much. So I think the question I would always be asking too is how many consider dropping out versus actually do. The ones that consider dropping out, significantly high. I would probably say, especially after COVID, probably 65% of students
Oh,
consider dropping
absolutely,
out.
yeah.
The ones that actually drop out, very, very small number. Because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, what I had about a year and a half left, and I would have an MD by my name. Like, why not? That's the biggest thing is like, why not finish it? You've already done this long, and a lot of people can push through. It's like, that's what they want to do. I'm somebody who, typically, like I said, I know myself better than anybody else, and I had not seen myself like that. It's like I just can't put myself through that anymore. But a lot of folks end up just pushing through. And then I would also pose the question is like how many end up practicing after getting their MD? It's probably significantly like there's a lot of folks that have MDs that aren't practicing just because they pushed through school because they were already there, but had no interest in actually utilizing that degree. But it's something that they can fall back on. I'm not a security blanket type of person, so I was all or nothing.
so Sam, anything to add to this? Oh, he's muted. Maybe he's on a phone call. Because he did finish the program.
Bonnie, I had someone who was exactly the opposite of your sister in law school. He was an MD, Corey, who never practiced. He wanted to do medical malpractice work in law school. So he was at Georgetown with me on the
Okay.
law school side.
Yeah, a bunch of different stuff. I mean, I think the world needs them obviously, and my biggest hope is that the people that are supposed to be there end up in the right place, and from there, we all benefit. And so I know that if I cared about the society and cared about the people that were going to depend on me, I couldn't be that person.
We certainly need more of them in today's world.
Yes.
Yes. So I have a friend who comes from a very dysfunctional family, and her brothers are all doctors. She's the only girl in the family. So what does she do? She does medical malpractice. She's a lawyer. I think that is so funny.
Yeah.
There's a sibling story there
Yeah,
somewhere.
oh, absolutely. So any other questions or comments?
The only comment again, without saying it too many times, great. This is a great call. It was
Yeah,
really
great call.
glad I
Thank
got up for it.
Thank you,
Thank
Corey.
Yeah, it was tremendous hearing your comments, Corey. Really, really appreciate it.
I want to hear the mantra one more time that your mother gave you every day.
I'm designed for greatness, highly intelligent, and I can do anything.
That's fantastic.
Every day, every single day. It was like, geez, you never know. And now here I am, years later on a incredible call repeating it again. You just never know. Like,
Never know.
never know. It's subconsciously, it's been stuck there for forever.
Good for her.
Any one of those three things would be smart to say every day. So
Yeah.
And literally, those words of affirmation, like, yeah, huge, 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 huge. Just giving yourself that, that motor to keep going. I still wake up every day with the adrenaline rushes if I just got started. So we're charged up and ready to go. We're gonna have a good year. All of us. Everybody on the call, everybody we know, we're all gonna have a good year. It's gonna be awesome.
That's right.
thanks
You know,
again.
it was Corey, was good about you making that decision then is, I could think back to my own mistakes. You get on this path sometimes and then you wind up having a family and all of a sudden it's all about being there for the family and, being able to provide and you push things that you want to do aside for a long time. Like, when I was young, I wanted to be an actor. Took me to retire from the college to become an actor, but I love it and it's a passion of mine. But, like I wish I had taken those chances when I was young. And I would tell young people now to go ahead and do that before you get into a position where you may not be able to.
Wow.
And I have a very high responsibility factor. So once I'm in that role that I need to be responsible for something, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm not going to veer away from the path. I want to make sure that I'm providing for those who I've committed to. So,
Powerful.
That's why they say youth is wasted on the young, right?
Yeah.
yep.
Super, super powerful.
And you've inspired me, Corey. I'm going to finally finish editing my book and get it out there.
Yes. Please do.
I will.
Please do.
Got to train those Jedi warriors.
I love it.
So we have a few more minutes. Unless do you want to leave us with some sage words of advice or, I don't know, inspiration for the coming year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really, really enjoyed this. I enjoyed my time and I was telling Bonnie I'm not somebody who typically, is gonna be if a Bonnie asks me, then yes, I'll do it. But I'm not typically somebody who does a bunch of speaking things and like all of that good stuff. And I never know how I'm gonna I've done them before, but I just never know how I'm gonna feel, afterwards. And I just appreciate everybody on here. And Bonnie told me, he's like, you gotta do it.
You got to do
This
it.
will be a great group of people. And she definitely did not lie about that. So I appreciate everybody's questions, candid thoughts, and you guys helped me out too, and so if anyone needs anything, whether it's a conversation, how to approach investors, if you're looking to raise capital, anything, please, please, please don't hesitate to send me an email. Happy to help any way I can, and I'm also very honest with if I can't help, I'm always honest with that too, and I think that's very helpful for people when they're, I'll never sell you guys on a false dream if it's not something I can help with. I'm always transparent with that, and yeah, no, I'm wishing everybody the best on this. I'm sure this won't be the last time that we're all together and all that good stuff, and if you guys are ever in the DC area, please let me know too. And I'm rooting for you guys,
And let us know when you're back in New York and not just sneaking in for one day.
Yeah, I know. And every time I'm there, it'll be for like a 2 hour or so window and then I'm back. So, but when I'm there for an extended amount of time, I'll definitely let you know. And yeah, rooting for y'all and let's crush it. Let's have a great 2026.
So
That's
Corey,
right.
you're in DC or Baltimore?
I'm in DC, so
Okay.
UMD's medical campus is in Baltimore, but I've always been I'm actually on the outskirts of DC.
Okay.
Yeah, Corey, it's funny how you you talk about making it really simple because we've been doing this. People always say, "What do you do with Sine? What is it?" And there's a lot of technology involved with what we're doing. And if you think out of the box, our product will be able to fulfill a whole lot of different things. But I always have friends and family. Well, what is it? What is it? So I really take like what you say, that very basic approach. I say, let's say you go to a wedding and you link up 6 or 7 people. You tell everybody take pictures of the dance, the cake, all of that goes up to a cloud, and in a very short time you have a professional video or movie, which normally would take the videographer go back. As John, this is what John's part. Spend weeks putting everything together. This is going to be done like in a very short time, and then they sort of like understand what the concept is. So we're at a real pivotal point now, as John was saying. So we're really excited right now. But again, thanks for coming on here and sharing your
Thank you.
experience with us.
Yes, thank you for making an exception. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course, of course. No, I'm looking forward to checking in and seeing all the great stuff y'all are still up to and all that good stuff. And yeah, happy to help any way I can.
Okay, thank you. And we'll have you back on in a few months and see how everybody's doing.
I love it. I love that.
And
All right,
thank you
everyone.
also, Bonnie. Thanks for putting this together.
And Joseph, we just had to
And
leave.
Joseph.
Thank you, guys. Yeah,
All
it
right,
was
see
really
y'all.
fun.
Thanks, everyone.
All right,
Okay.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Great weekend.
you too, bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Recording and